everyone, Christine here, and we are at Consensus, and I am sitting here with Brad Doster of Lions Wealth Management. Brad, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
What is it that brings you to Consensus?
Yeah, so we are an RIA based in Orlando, Florida, and what brings us to Consensus this year is we're pleased to have just partnered with CoinDesk, obviously our lovely host for the event, and launched a Lions Wealth CoinDesk large cap digital asset fund comprised of the 5 largest tokens by market cap, and just launched 6 weeks ago. So,
wow.
Yeah, so we're here promoting the opportunity with CoinDesk and being able to get this into the hands of financial advisors to make it easier for them to allocate to this ecosystem in a safe, regulated way that can assist their clients long term.
Excellent. So what would your pitch be to registered investment advisors on why they might consider your product?
Yeah, so the pitch is pretty simple. 10 years ago it was a lot more risky to invest in Bitcoin than it is today, for example. And our stance is we were inundated with calls from clients on, hey, how do we get into crypto? How do we get into this ecosystem? And there just wasn't really a solution for like US-based advisors, in our opinion, to do it correctly. You could kind of get into a GBTC product. You could buy a proxy of a MicroStrategy, Coinbase. And we just wanted something a little more regulated, safe, and like understood by the client while protecting the integrity of crypto, of cold storage, wallets, decentralization, those things. And so after some discussion with CoinDesk, leveraging some of their stuff with this index, my pitch is pretty simple. It's like, a couple percent of your client assets into this space over time is the fiduciary right thing to do. And rather than be inundated with, clients hold your keys and do this, here's like a turnkey solution to where they feel comfortable, their client feels comfortable with their own wallet, but in a way that they have help. And that's the biggest thing, is we want to help more people get in and understand the space.
There is so many people looking for that. I also work at an RIA, and the firm that I work at was one of only 5 in Texas to actually offer cryptocurrency exposure to their clients, and we've had to do a lot of work just making sure, discussion with the state and making sure everything is compliant. Is there a lot of RIA firms or offerings in Florida where you're from that offer this, or were you the first one?
Yeah, so it's our understanding that this is the first kind of one of this type that we know of, and obviously it's a new partnership with CoinDesk, so I believe they would agree with that. Obviously there are other proxies, to get allocation to the space, but as far as kind of a crypto native, have your own technology platform, 24/7 access to accounts, kind of having that counterparty risk eliminated, we just think this serves a need for that traditional financial advisor to feel comfortable getting that exposure for clients over the long term. And we think this does that in a very turnkey way so that there's no questions.
So other RIA firms can come to you, and it's a specially managed account. Can they white label it and make it seem like they're the ones offering it, or how does that look for them?
Yeah, so they do have to come to us to get access to this particular index, and then their client, and they do have, again, 24/7 access to the account, so they don't call us to to send somewhere else. We can't do that.
They would go through their regular RIA, but they go to your platform.
Yeah, they would have to use our platform, and our partners behind the scenes there are Height Zero, which works with financial advisors, and then BitGo is the cold storage for the assets. So I think although it has our name on it, I think the advisor allocating to the space, again, maintains that relationship and the control with the client versus, tell them, hey, I don't know the space, just go on Coinbase and buy Bitcoin or something. They're managing the relationship.
Certainly, and the advisor would be the one talking with the client about their risk portfolio and how much of their assets to allocate.
100%. Yeah, and that's another reason why we like this, because again, you're empowering that advisor to maintain that relationship and drive results for that client, versus saying like, hey, I haven't put the work in, it's too much for me.
Yep.
You got to go over here. This allows them to, again, like I said, maintain that relationship, maintain that asset bucket of like, here's your overall risk portfolio and what we're doing, so that strategies are aligned as they go forward.
Excellent. And what's unique is that rather than a derivative product or buying into MicroStrategies or buying a futures ETF, you're giving the clients actual exposure to the hard asset, correct?
That is correct. So the client does have that does own that token.
Right.
And has direct ownership in that, again, with cold storage associated with it. So yeah, you are getting direct spot exposure, if you will, and not the futures ETF and some of the other, as you mentioned, derivative options, which were a start, and we just think this is an improvement.
Yeah. And so it's the top 5 cryptocurrency by market cap, and if that changed, but not the stable coins, I would assume.
Correct. It's just no stable coins, it's just the tokens themselves. So the current makeup is about 65% Bitcoin,
okay,
about 32% ETH, and then Cardano, Polygon, and Solana make up the bottom 3. So yes, it is Bitcoin dominated fund, but we're not like day trading this. This is meant to be like basically beta market exposure to the digital asset ecosystem, and so that's rebalanced quarterly.
Okay. And
yep,
if the market cap changes, if one of the coins falls out of favor, then
it's replaced.
Okay.
Yep.
And what is it that allowed Lions to kind of see this and take the risk to be the first one in the space? Were they already dabbling in cryptocurrency?
So 3 of us. One gentleman, ran his own Bitcoin mine, and so we're kind of like, we've been in this space 6-7 years, which feels like 50, but we were just passionate about it, and then inundated with calls, and we felt like we weren't doing our job because we didn't have a solution we were comfortable with. We take a lot of pride in how we manage our equity portfolios, but we didn't have a solution for this.
Yeah.
And so we kind of said, look, this is our focus. We got to find a way to offer this to our clients so they don't go elsewhere and
yep,
don't lose their keys or get hacked or do something else. We felt a responsibility from the calls we were getting, and this is what came from it.
And you charge an assets under management fee taken out monthly? Is that how the payment works?
There is yes, and obviously as advisors on board to the platform, that's additional revenue opportunities for them, while still, like, the most important part is still maintaining that overall asset mix for the client.
Yeah.
So there is revenue opportunities for advisors, but this is a safe way to do it. And more importantly, like I said, driving results long-term for the client.
Yep.
And I think in today's world, from a fiduciary standpoint, you got to be able to answer those questions in today's world. And I think when you're advising people, if you dismiss the space, you're probably not doing the best you could for that individual.
Right. It gets to a point where it's more dangerous to have no exposure to something like Bitcoin than...
Correct.
Obviously, one has to work with their financial advisor about risk tolerance and time horizon and all that, but the space isn't going away, and so it's nice to have people with the traditional financial experience to be able to hold someone's hand as they just kind of dip their pinky in the space.
That's correct, and the endowment that I look after, as I was saying, we struggled to get it on our investment policy statement, and now the question was, how do we do this as this endowment that we need to go in perpetuity, for a very long time, and I think we needed to do our fiduciary responsibility to that 501c3, which to me this can fit that bill for a couple percent and just have exposure to the space, and this is an exponential technology. So this isn't a linear kind of thing here, and we try to step back and see the long term, and in our opinion, the long term needs to include this type of allocation to be doing the best you can for the end user.
So speaking of long-term, do clients have the possibility of investing with their IRA money?
The answer to that is going to be yes.
Okay.
As we sit here this second, the answer is no, but it's any day or week now with our partnership with Height Zero, from what we've been told on their tech platform.
Okay, so working with a self-directed IRA company to be able to grant them exposure.
Yes, that's our next main focus now that it's real.
Excellent. I have found that a lot of people are interested in that. They can't touch the money anyway. They can't take required distributions anytime soon.
And we're 100% in agreement with that, especially with the volatility of the asset class, rebalancing and other tax loss harvesting things that you could maybe do on an easier basis in the public equity market. So having it set it and forget it to an IRA and quarterly rebalance is a really strong thing over that long term, for sure.
Yes. What would you say to someone that's concerned about the lack of regulatory clarity about the space, or even the fact that Bitcoin is considered a commodity? Well, I mean, nothing's been officially defined, but Gary Gensler seems to want to indicate that he thinks of Bitcoin in a different category than the rest of them because it's not centralized. Do you have that question come up a lot?
We really haven't.
No. Okay.
And I think the reason for that is there's too much money in the space now, right? So, like I said earlier, 10 years ago, you'd be taking far more risk than you are allocating to the space today. Mm-hmm. And our opinion is there's too much money in the space. It's not going anywhere. Sort of like derivatives markets, things kind of move from New York to London.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to attract, maybe Coinbase is now a UK-based company or something. I mean, there's going to be ways for us in the US to get regulated access to these markets. I just think it's too powerful of an asset, too much growth, and I think there's enough folks in our government here that we'll figure it out.
Now, if some of our listeners are interested in your product and wanted to get a hold of you, how would they go about signing up for this product?
Yeah, so you go to our website, lionswealth.com, Lyons wealth.com, and there's a landing page for the Lions CoinDesk Large Cap Fund right there. You just click on it, fill out name and email, and we'll reach out to you.
And are you looking for individual retail clients, or are you just looking for RIAs to come on with the SMA product?
Yeah, so both. Yeah,
okay.
So we're putting our individual clients, obviously, into the strategy. And our thought process is we want to get as many people safely into this space as possible. So connecting with other advisors such as yourself, super important for us, because you have a giant reach of folks that we think we can add value to that we don't know. Mm-hmm. So we are, we use put our own clients to it, and then really are just trying to meet, other people that can help get more and more folks into this ecosystem.
Beautiful. Well, and as we always say, right, none of this is financial advice, but it's better to reach out to someone like yourself that is doing this professionally, does have a license to advise, and always that advice comes in the context of relationship, in the context of understanding goals, long-term, short-term, risk volatility.
Correct. Yep. Obviously not financial advice. I always just tell people, just have a conversation with someone who's kind of gone down the rabbit hole. Just have a conversation and educate yourself. Again, we think this is here to stay, and the worst you can do is say no at the end of it, but to educate yourself and have a conversation is super important.
Beautiful. Well, Brad, thank you for this conversation. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today. And thank you to all our listeners. We hope that you like this content. And if you do, please like, subscribe, and follow us on our channel.
Thank you.
Hey Hey guys, thanks for watching. We had a great time here at Consensus. At the Texas Blockchain Council, we are striving to be the nexus between traditional industries, banking, finance, legal, energy, and the digital asset industry. So we want to help you get your brand in front of those kinds of companies with B2B opportunities. Reach out to us if that's of interest for membership or for sponsorship at the summit. Hope to see you there in November in Fort Worth. Thanks again. We look forward to seeing you at the summit.